Hello everybody, I'm Thrash Maniac HD, and this is the second episode of my new series called Versus, where I put up two different topics up against each other in regarding to music, wrestling, sports, video games, or entertainment as a whole. And the last episode I did was heavy metal related, which it was Dave Mustaine versus Chuck Schuldiner. This week's episode is wrestling related. And from what I'm wearing, it's CM Punk versus John Cena. Now, I know there's going to be people saying, oh, automatically this or whoever's going to win. But here's how I've decided to do it. I've decided to separate this into categories. And the categories are mic skills, in-ring ability, character development, and a category that is like legacy and who's done more for wrestling as a whole. And whatever else you want to say. Pretty much their legacy of wrestling as a whole. So yeah, those are the four categories. Mic skills, in-ring ability, character development, and overall legacy in wrestling. CM Punk versus John Cena. Now, we're going to start off by talking about mic skills. Now, this is one of the portions of this video where it's very, very close. Because both John Cena and CM Punk are great on the microphone. CM Punk has his edgier side with the pipe bombs and stuff like that, while Cena has the more serious side. Not to say Punk doesn't have a serious side, but he has more the edgier side. Cena's a little more on the serious side. And they can both be funny at times. Mostly Cena's more funnier than Punk. Mostly because of when Cena had the whole Thugonomics gimmick, he was fantastic as a comedy guy with the raps he did. It was just great. Both guys on the mic are very good. They're great on the mic. So this is where it's very tough. Mic skills wise, by like about 50.1 to 49.9. I'm not doing this because I'm a bigger fan of this guy, but again, none of this is biased, or it is kind of like my own opinion. But I have to go with John Cena by a tiny hair because, again, while Punk is great in his own right on the edgy side, when it comes to being serious and bringing his A game with some of the promos he does, especially the promo he did with Daniel Bryan on Miz TV, he brought his A game in. John Cena, in my opinion, is a tiny bit better on the mic, slightly because of a little bit of the serious stuff, but also I kind of have to have a little bit of comedy with what the guys say sometimes because I'm a comedy fan. And Cena, in my opinion, is funnier than CM Punk. So by a narrow hair, mic skills goes to John Cena. In-ring ability, this is the easiest one, of course, because while John Cena, in my opinion, because he's hated by so many in the IWC and the YWC, that makes him a little bit underrated as a wrestler. And again, if John Cena can get a semi-okay match out of Great Khali, he can have a good match with just about anybody. CM Punk, on the other hand, is a technical high-flying master. And to me, that gives him the edge as far as in-ring ability. So, this is the easiest one to pick for a winner. In-ring ability goes to CM Punk. Now we get into character development. Now, CM Punk in his early stages of his career, up until now, his character's been pretty much the same since he got into wrestling, being straight edge and just saying stuff to your face and telling it like it is. Very good character. And he's been that way since the very beginning of his career, where he says, I'm better than you because I don't do drugs or alcohol or smoke or whatever else. He's been that way since day one for character development. John Cena, on the other hand, started out in his indie days as the prototype, where he was where he said 50% man, 50% machine, 100% mayhem. And he was like the Terminator kind of character where he's unstoppable and everything like that. Then when he got to OVW, he was still the prototype, except he added in charisma to his character. And to me, when it comes to charisma, John Cena's more charismatic than CM Punk, because he has that look and natural charisma. CM Punk has charisma too, but Cena just had that natural charisma. Kind of like Sting and Ric Flair and The Rock and Stone Cold, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. All had that natural charisma. So, yeah. And then after the OVW stuff with him bringing in charisma into the prototype character, then when he got to WWE in the summer of 2002, he was being built up as the upcoming guy for the Ruthless Aggression era, where he was ruthless, he was just beating people up and stuff like that. And then we get to the later stages of 2002 up until about 2005, where he was the Thugonomics character, where he was rapping. Now that is one of the most original, greatest gimmicks in wrestling history, in my opinion, because here you have a white guy who raps, and he gets hated by so many people for that in the crowd for reactions. We all love this character of John Cena, of course. You all know I do. So yeah, with the whole Thugonomics stuff, very original, really great character. And then we get into 2005 through about 2000 till about early 2008, where he was just kind of mixing in comedy and seriousness, and he kind of had a little bit of the shades of the Thugonomics gimmick still, with the way he dressed up and stuff. While he still dresses up similar nowadays, like the Thugonomics gimmick, he doesn't wear the jerseys anymore, he just wears t-shirts. Well, throughout most of this time he was wearing the t-shirts, but he was still portraying a little bit of that Thugonomics gimmick, at least in 05 until like late 2006, and then 07 he was just more along the serious side a little bit, but he still had a comedy edge to him. And then we get to where he is now, which has been since he returned from Royal Rumble 2008 till now, where people call him Super Cena, where he's just like a superhero type of guy. While the character has been getting stale, but you can't deny it is a good character for somebody like him because of the way he looks. It fits him. So really, the Superman type of superhero character kind of thing for John Cena, who's a muscular guy, it was good for him for the time up until about 2010. Even though I still like it, he does need a change. So for character development, Punk's been I have to give this one to John Cena because he's been different throughout his whole career. Punk has kind of been the same, even though he's been face and heel. It was still the same character, just in different ways. Like, he was still calling himself straight edge when he was a face, calling himself straight edge when he's a heel. He's been the same character pretty much ever since the start of his career, while John Cena had that diversity of doing different things. So John Cena, in my opinion, gets character development because he did different things. Punk's kind of been the same, in my opinion, in my eyes, as a wrestling fan. So character development goes to John Cena. Now we get to another tough one. The overall legacy and who has done more for wrestling. Both have their own legacies that are going to live on in wrestling forever, but their legacies are different. Punk's legacy has always been about being one of the best technical wrestlers of the last 15 years or so. Or at least 13 years from when he started. He's been considered maybe this day's Macho Man Randy Savage. as far as like in-ring ability, because Macho Man was kind of similar to Punk as a wrestler. Even though Macho Man was also more of like the showman type of wrestler, he could really go. CM Punk is more along the lines of the wrestling side. So for the wrestling side, and also ever since the pipe bomb dropped 2 years ago, he has been instrumental in helping, at least helping the small guys come to WWE and get their fair shot. Guys like Daniel Bryan and The Shield and the Wyatts, and soon like Sami Zayn and guys like that. Punk's been instrumental in that ever since the pipe bomb. John Cena's legacy, on the other hand, has always been about his accomplishments and just the business side of wrestling. He's been the poster boy since 2005. And to be honest, it's good that he's the poster boy because he's good with the fans. Punk, while sometimes he's good with the fans, some of the times he's a dick. John Cena, I have not ever heard, and only maybe once or twice about him acting a little dumb, but for the most part, John Cena's good with the fans. Punk, he can be good with the fans, but it's like 50-50. He's 50% with the fans, 50% kind of a dick. So, yeah, so the business side, John Cena has that legacy of the business side, but also accomplishments. Being a 13-time world champion and probably 14-time by Hell in a Cell Sunday. So when it comes down to it, I have to give this one to John Cena because of the accomplishments. Again, this is all my opinion, and this is my category. If you guys want to do something different with how you want to do this debate, feel free. This is all my opinion, all me talking about this. So the tally comes down to 3-1 John Cena. John Cena wins only by 0.01% in mic skills over CM Punk. Wins by about 20% in, or actually about 20% in character development. And just because of his accomplishments, I had to give it to him for overall legacy. Punk gets wrestling ability, bar none. But overall, as a total package, the winner of this debate for me is John Cena. And I know people are going to say, oh, you're just saying that because you're a bigger Cena fan than a Punk fan. Not necessarily. I mean, it is my opinion, but I separate it into categories in the realms and stuff. So for me, John Cena, as far as mic skills, character development, and legacy, is better than CM Punk. CM Punk is definitely better than John Cena in the ring, but then again, wrestling's not always about how good you are in the ring. It's sometimes about how you can act and how much you draw and how much the total package, basically. CM Punk has a total package as far as mic skills and in-ring ability, but he looks like a guy from a freaking gas station, not like John Cena, who has the look of a star. But John Cena, again, wins because of total package and stuff. But anyways, that does it for this week's episode of Versus. The next episode will be video game related, so I'm going to pin up 2 different video games, and we're going to see which one's better for me. But anyways, guys, peace.